Thank you very much, Ken, for coming and being here today to talk about the understanding that can change business and young people's success in business. I think so many young people now are in a situation where the jobs are not the same as they used to be. There are no stable jobs, and a lot more people are looking at internet businesses or running their own businesses or looking at how can they be successful in work if they work for another business, for example. So I know that you've worked with a lot of businesses, and maybe you could tell us something about your experience of what really matters, what really helps to be successful.
Well, there's success on lots of different levels. So there's success in money, there's success in getting a product out there, there's success in innovating new ideas, there's success in providing services. But then there's inner success, which is having a nice life, doing something meaningful, feeling connected to yourself, enjoying being yourself, enjoying people, having good relationships. So all of this is the inner life, and the inner life matters. And it's really great to know how your inner life works so that you can have a nice life while you're doing business. And if you're working with other people, if you're not just at home doing the internet business by yourself, if you're working with other people, it's really good to understand how other people work and the importance of their inner lives so that you can help people with their inner lives and have great relationships. Now, the businesses that I've seen that have been most successful, in my estimation, if you are successful on the inner life as well as what you're doing with the business, that's really success. I've seen a lot of businesses be successful money-wise or marketing-wise, but not very good on the inner life. So I don't consider that successful, but other people do. So that's just me.
When we're at school, often there's a lot of pressure to perform, to get good results, to be successful in the outer world. And there isn't so much focus on the inner world. Which we're looking at is putting more of a focus on the inner world for young people, because they quite often put their happiness aside to apparently be successful, to get good grades and to get on the right courses and to do all that, rather than looking at, well, what makes me happy?
Well, I think you need a balance of both. If you're going to start a business and invest money, there's a future orientation. But the inner life works only in the present moment. And most people ignore that, thinking that the future is going to be when you can have an inner life. Or if you have something in the future, you'll then be able to be happy at some point in the future. Except there actually is no future. There really is only the present moment. So, if you are caught up in the future is where the action is, mindset, you can't have much of an inner life. It's all about what's going to happen in the future.
Something that came to me too when you were saying about other people, understanding other people's lives and understanding how their experience works and why they do things. Even doing this, for example. So I am mostly at the moment working on the internet and I am talking to people, but I'm organizing a lot of people and coordinating a lot of people and getting the things done and talking a lot on. It really does make a big difference if you know how other people's realities are working, because you could take it really personally if somebody doesn't want to join this, if somebody doesn't want to help out in your business or come along. Or I've noticed certainly when I've been organizing this, that having that understanding that whatever anyone else does is nothing to do with me. makes a huge difference to me getting on and feeling calm and enjoying what I'm doing. So maybe you could say a little about what this understanding is that you share with businesses and how you share it with businesses so that people might understand a bit better.
Well, we live in a human mind, and it has a fundamental way that it operates. And understanding the operations of the human mind is enormously helpful. It's kind of like having a car. Someone gives you a car, but you have no idea how it works. I mean, it's not going to help you very much. Or you have a stove in the kitchen, but you don't really know how it operates, so you can't really cook anything. Well, and the human system is a little bit different because it's a living system. But even though it's a living system, you can use it well or use it badly, but it has its way. It's designed to work, and it has its deeper living processes. So this understanding is really an understanding of how the mind works and what it is actually designed to do on its own, regardless of your efforts to use it. So the mind has basic forces operating in it, which we sometimes call principles. They're like principles of science or principles of physics, like gravity is a principle of physics. It just operates. And there's no place in the universe where gravity is not operating. Well, in the human mind, there are principles at that level. And they are operating, creating the experience of life that we're having every moment. So I could talk more about them, but I didn't know if you wanted to go that into the detail. But that's what this understanding is. It's an understanding about the living dynamics that we are living in the middle of as human beings.
So maybe you could just talk a bit about how that applies to business, because maybe or studying, but how does that translate into how a business might work, or how you might enjoy a business, or what difference does that make in a business?
Well, we have some free will in terms of how we use our mind. And the mind has built into it a great deal of intelligence and capability. And if we don't really understand how the mind works, we can use our thinking in a way that interferes with our own intelligence or interferes with our basic capabilities. And people do that all the time because they're unaware of what they're doing with their own mind. So for example, it looks to me like most business meetings operate at about a 15% efficiency. Because while people are talking, everyone else is busy thinking about other things. Well, if your job is to be listening, you shouldn't be thinking about other things. Now, the speaker who's trying to share something with the business meeting is not noticing that nobody's really listening. So at the end of the meeting, people think they've had a conversation, but they actually haven't. They think they've made a decision, but they actually haven't. But everybody goes off doing something based on a decision they made in their own heads, but they were all different decisions. This is a very inefficient way of having human beings use their minds when they're in a meeting together. So that's just one example of the inefficiency that comes when people really don't understand how the mind is designed to work.
So in a situation like that, how would you go about changing that, or how would you go about getting people to understand that that's what's going on, and how they can make their meetings, for example, more efficient?
Well, first you have to get people's attention. So we'll explain to people, listen, your meetings are operating at a 15% level of efficiency. Have you ever noticed that? They go, oh yeah, we really, I hate those meetings. And they happen all the time, and I have to be in them all day long. And so I said, well, there's a solution to that. Well, what is it? What is it? So then we have to explain to people, well, it's going to take some time for you to hear what it is that we have to say so that you can have some insights about it. But until you have some insights about it, it won't help. They go, okay, sign me up. So then they come, and then we start explaining to them about how the mind works. And basically on that level, what I was just describing, we explain to people that the mind is designed to hear things. The mind is designed to see things. Like when you go to the movies, you don't have to make yourself see the movie. You don't have to make yourself hear what's going on in the movie. You just see and hear the movie. Well, is it an effort to see and hear the movie? No, it's not an effort. Well, it's okay. It's not. Well, I mean, so your mind is designed to see. Why don't you do that when you're in meetings? Well, I have so many things on my mind. I'm thinking about this. I don't like what he said. I'm thinking about what he said. Okay, suppose you didn't do all of those things. Well, I guess I would just sit there and hear what he had to say. Duh, that's a good idea. But people don't realize that the mind is a perfect listening machine. It's a perfect insight machine. It's a perfect seeing things machine. It's a perfect having perspectives machine. But because of the nature of our consciousness and the nature of our thinking, when our consciousness and our thinking get together, they create little movies in our own heads that distract us from what's happening in the present moment. And we get more interested in the movies in our head than what's happening in the present moment. And that's what happens 85% of the time in business. And then people start to go, oh, I never thought of that. How come nobody ever explained that to me before? I say, well, we've never really had a very simple, clear understanding with which to explain this to people. And now we have that. And that's what this understanding gives us, is a scientific and detailed and profound, actually, way of explaining these things. So I just gave a very superficial example, but there's a much deeper explanation behind it.
Yeah, obviously, because yeah. But even that is very big for young people if they're at college or just going into a job, for example. Just knowing that, just what you've just said, that they don't have to make an effort, that their mind is designed to already take in everything they need to take in.
Yeah, you've got to put the time and the discipline into it. But if you know how to use your mind well, you have all the intelligence there to do it effectively and relatively effortlessly. But you have to put the time and the discipline into it.
Sure. I was just thinking about sitting in lectures, and for example, sitting in lectures that you can take it in without having to try to take it in and you're going to the lectures. Is that?
Yeah, if you're relaxed and your mind is open and you're enjoying yourself, it'll all flow. If you don't want to be there and you're not enjoying yourself, chances are it's not going to flow. So take classes you want to take. But back to the deeper point, people don't realize that they are thinkers at a deeper level. I mean, everybody knows that they think, but at a deeper level, we're creating the world that we live in through our thoughts every moment from the inside out. And when people can realize that at a deeper level, it frees them from a lot of the noise in their own heads. And when the noise in your head settles down, there's much greater capacity for listening and paying attention and having insight.
That just reminded me of, I heard you talking one time about some companies that don't sit down when they've got a problem, don't sit down and brainstorm or try hard to find the answer, but they go skiing. Wasn't it going skiing?
Or they have a beer or something. Can you hold on a second? I need to close my door. Hold on. It won't be too long. Hi, sorry.
That's okay. Yeah. So it's more about the enjoying part of it makes total sense to me. And I think I've noticed with, like in Finland, that they're now not having subjects, and not at schools, they're not having subjects, and they're not making children, you must learn this and you must learn that. It's much more about enjoying, and they're getting much better results.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And yet still in America and in England, it's still about, you must study this and not have fun studying it. So does this apply to small businesses or big businesses or everyone?
It applies to everyone, everywhere.
And if someone was having, what sort of problems other than the one that you've just spoken about in the meeting, for example, what other sort of problems do businesses have that they consult you about?
Well, just about everything, but in this realm, there, a really big theme is egos and feelings. Now, they don't consult me about that. They consult me about leaders. A leader, they'll want some help for a leader to become more mature or a better leader or a more effective leader. But we're all natural leaders when we're clear and balanced. When we're clear and balanced, the mind is designed to see what's going on, have insight, have energy, to get motivated, to engage, to connect with other people and get things done. I mean, it's just how human beings are designed. You see somebody, see a little kid walking out on the street and there's a truck coming, you get into action. You don't have to sit there and think, what should I do? The mind is designed that way. Well, we're all naturally leaders like that. But we get a lot of thinking going on, a lot of emotions going on. We get a lot of reactions to things, a lot of issues on our mind. And people don't realize that it's all created in people's thinking. They don't realize that it's their thinking. So, ultimately, any leadership coaching that I do is to help them understand how the mind works and where their feelings are coming from. And then when people start to realize what good leadership looks like and that they have it in them, then the enterprise is for them to get out of their own thinking. And some people have skills to develop, which are easier to do. But the main thing usually is for people to just get balanced, get over themselves, and not take their feelings so seriously. Now, when you start realizing that your feelings are created by your thinking, your emotions are created by your thinking, Your hangups and your insecurities are just thoughts. If you can start to see that, then it's easier to let go of them. If you think the world or your bank account or your wife or your husband or your friends or your children or your parents are making you feel bad, then you'll feel bad for a long time. You'll be insecure for a long time. But if you start to realize it's all coming from your thinking, you'll start living in a lot more balance. Now, in small companies or startups or entrepreneurships, a lot of which I've been involved with over the years, the people who naturally know what I just said are the ones that are most successful. And the ones that get hung up in their thinking and their feelings and their insecurities and their fears, they're the ones that have a lot more trouble.
So, how did you come across this yourself in the first place? How did you get to be working with companies and with businesses like this?
Well, I got introduced to these principles about 27 years ago through a friend. I was a psychologist doing psychotherapy at the time, psychotherapy practice. And I was really struck by the simplicity and the impact that this understanding has. I started sharing it with my clients. They got amazing results in a really short period of time. And some of them started bringing me into their companies. And then some consultants I knew wanted me to come to their consulting company. I started going to some of their clients. So that's how that happened.
So it's interesting, though, isn't it, that it wasn't a plan. That wasn't your plan to do that in the first place, which is another part of this understanding, I think.
Well, you can have plans and then there's life.
Yeah, that's what I mean, really, is.
I mean, it's good to have some degree of plan so you have a focus and a structure for your day to day. But then, you know, as new things come in, you get new insights, you change your plans and you go in new directions.
And how do you talk to business people about having new ideas, being more creative, knowing which way to go and what to do next?
Well, what I talk to business people about is how their mind works. That's all I do. And the mind is designed to have insights. So you put yourself in front of a situation. The first thing you have to do is you have to understand it. And then when you understand the situation, your mind will give you an insight about what to do about it, or with it, or for it. And it's happening in all of us all the time. Now, some people are not noticing that it's happening in them. That's my job, to help them realize that it's happening in them. And that's it. Now, once people start to notice, oh yeah, I have insights. Duh. Yeah, you have insight. Oh yeah, you know, I've always known that. Yeah, you have always known that. Yes, I have. Well, so what? I said, well, if you stop grinding away so hard and all of this other stuff all day long and you relaxed, maybe you'd notice you're having insights and it would help you grind less and you'd be more creative. Oh, that's a good idea. I think I'll try it. They tried, and lo and behold, there it is. It works just fine. But they never stopped to realize, oh, I have insights. Oh, my mind is designed to work really well. I don't have to work it so hard.
So how do you get them to see that they are having insights all the time?
Well, first we tell them, then we put them through some exercises so that they can observe that it's working. And then after they've kind of got the hang of it, we put them in front of a really difficult business issue that they haven't been able to solve. And we work with them for a couple of days on the business issue and help them stay in that space where they're looking for insights. And they're amazed how quickly they can solve these intractable business problems by having cleared their heads and allowing the insights to come up from inside.
So if there's someone listening to this that has no idea that they're having insights, what is there something simple that they can do that might get them to see that we all have insights all the time?
They just wonder about something. Gee, what would I like for dinner? Chinese food. You just had an insight about Chinese food, about what you want for dinner. It happens all the time. Gee, where do I want to go on vacation? Cancun, Mexico. Now, where did that come from? You can either think you made it up, you can either take credit for the intelligence that delivered it up for you, which is what most people do, or you can notice, oh, my mind produced an insight. See, in our education system, we're so trained to think we own our mind and we are our intelligence, and that our voluntary use of our intelligence is us. And that we're graded and reinforced and rewarded for our ability to do that. But it's an unfortunate misunderstanding of how the mind is really designed to work. Your job is to get information and understand what's going on, and then relax and let yourself intelligently respond to what it is that you see. That's how the mind is designed.
Yeah. So it's amazing. Why do you think it is that some people naturally understand how the mind works and some people don't? Because as you said, some people are successful immediately and effortlessly because they understand that's how it works.
Well, most people don't really understand how it works. Some people just are naturally not screwed up in terms of having the wrong ideas about how it's supposed to work. So they're unconsciously competent. They're just having a nice, healthy life because they're using their mind in a healthy way, and they've never developed bad habits that get in the way of it. But that doesn't mean they really understand how it works. They're just not screwing it up like most of us are.
Yeah, well, that's good to know that actually most of us are screwing it up, really, isn't it? There's
a lot of mental virus going around these days, and a lot of misunderstanding about how to live in a mind. A great deal of misunderstanding.
I've seen that there's a lot going on about online about emotional intelligence, and
it would be nice if people had some.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. And they're talking about it a lot, but they don't actually seem to know what it is.
Well, Daniel Goleman has done a beautiful job in his books at describing the products of emotional intelligence. So there is a natural intelligence in the human system, which makes us able to connect with people, be sensitive to people, have good timing, be tactful, be gracious, be respectful, be good communicators, generate synergy in a family or in a team. So there's a great job that emotional intelligence world has done at describing what emotional intelligence is and how it's designed to look. But without an understanding of the deeper principles of how the mind works, their strategies for getting there aren't very good. They're guesses which are no better than most other psychological guesses. So when you understand how the mind actually works and what the basic principles are, it's a much more effective strategy for helping people actually have more emotional intelligence.
So you've pretty much spoken about what the principles are, because you spoke about that our feelings come from thought, and that there's the deeper intelligence that we get insights from. Is there much more that people need to know?
Well, we're conscious beings. Consciousness is an unlimited capacity. It's a force of nature. Thought is a force of nature, which we use to form our thinking, but it's a force of nature. And there's a life force in us that has intelligence, that brings consciousness and thought into existence. It's invisible, powerful, and it's a force. So these are basic forces that are responsible for life in human form as well as other forms. And how they work and how they work together is really useful to know. Okay. Now, is there more to know? Yeah, there's a lot more to, there's a body of language and knowledge that is helpful for people to realize the truth of these principles at a deeper level. So there's a lot of reading and videos and books and things. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing this, so that people can get a taste of it and then go further and read more, watch more, and including your own book, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, this has been nice talking with you, Anne.
Yeah. Yeah, it has. It's a really nice introduction to people, I think, for how to be happy in business, not just to be looking for being successful. Yeah. And I think that's really, really important. Yeah. And a good start in life, rather than thinking that you've got to be trying hard and, as you say, working towards retirement when you can be happy.
Right.
Or the weekends or whatever, the holidays, but actually being happy during the whole of your life.
Yeah.
And this is a way to look
towards. In our book, it's called Invisible Power.
Yeah.
We've organized it in a way that we think people, particularly oriented toward business, can easily understand these principles. So there's a core section that explains the way the mind works. And then there's the next set of implications is, how does this apply to you? And then how does this apply to relationships? And then how does this apply to business? So it's good to understand the core first. And there's a lot of resources out there for that.
There certainly are. So beneath this video, there will be a link to go to anything to where you are, but also to your book and to all the other resources as well. So there will be lots more for people to look at and to go to. So yeah, thanks very much, Ken, for coming and talking to people about where to get started.
Yeah.
Or they get started in life and get stuck in it.
Yeah. Well, it's been really fun, and thanks.
Thanks very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thanks. Bye then.